Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a seriously historic news cycle to dive into right now. We're going to cover everything from monumental nuclear diplomacy on the world stage, all the way down to some sweeping, fundamental sports reforms right here at home. We have a lot of ground to cover today, so let's get right into it and connect the dots.
Here's what's on the agenda for today. We're looking at the US-Iran deal, the global reactions to it, some key domestic updates, major PCB contract reforms, and finally, today's FIFA matches. Let's just jump right in.
Starting off with Section 1, the global stage, the US-Iran peace deal. We are beginning with a true defining moment in modern geopolitics. And what's really fascinating here is that Pakistan played a crucial role as the host and facilitator for this massive diplomatic breakthrough.
All right, take a look at this timeline because it's moving fast. We've got the initial signing ceremony set for June 19th in Geneva, hosted by Pakistan, and that kicks off a super critical 60-day window for the final detailed negotiations. For anyone watching global markets or international security, this 60-day period is literally the window to watch, and it's worth noting the massive effort it took to get here. Leaders have been praising Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir, who basically worked day and night to keep these talks alive through all the ups and downs.
Now, what's really fascinating here is this dual strategy from the United States. President Donald Trump announced he's lifting the naval blockade on Iranian ports, meaning the vital Strait of Hormuz will open up following the ceasefire, but he coupled that with a very stark warning. If Iran doesn't reach a final nuclear agreement, the U.S. will strike again. So military action is absolutely still on the table. Talk about high stakes for these upcoming talks, right?
On the flip side of the table, Iran has drawn its own hard lines. Their deputy foreign minister made it crystal clear that these final 60-day talks hinge on a few massive conditions: tackling the nuclear issues, a total lifting of sanctions, restoring their frozen assets, and definitively ending the war. Plus, they issued their own warning, stating that if the agreement's integrity is compromised, Iran is going to react. So these aren't just diplomatic talking points. These specific terms are literally going to dictate the economic future of the entire region. Moving on to Section 2, Global and Regional Reactions. With that fragile 60-day window set, the world reacted instantly, and it really shows the deep divides that still exist.
We are seeing a really stark geopolitical split here. On one side, there's overwhelming global optimism. You've got Saudi Arabia, China, the EU, the UN, the UK. They've all welcomed a deal, emphasizing how much we need to restore maritime safety and stabilize global trade. But contrasted sharply against that is Israel's stance. Following the announcement, Israel explicitly declared it will not withdraw its forces from Gaza, Lebanon, or Syria, and they warned of retaliation if attacked from Lebanon. It really highlights just how incredibly complex and interconnected regional security is right now.
All right, Section 3, Domestic Shift, Economy and Politics. Let's pivot and see what's happening internally against this massive geopolitical backdrop.
Let's start with the economy. The State Bank of Pakistan made a huge macroeconomic move today. In their latest monetary policy announcement, they decided to hold the interest rate perfectly steady at 11.5%. So, what does that mean for you? Well, if you're managing a business, paying off a loan, or just trying to track inflation, this 11.5% is your absolute baseline. That is the number you need to plan around for the near future.
Politically, things are really heating up in Gilgit-Baltistan. The election tribunal just upheld several election victories for PML and candidates, while rejecting objections raised by the PPP. And this decision sparked an immediate local backlash. Supporters of an independent candidate actually staged protests that completely blocked the Karakoram highway at 0 point. That is a major disruption to travel and trade routes up there.
Meanwhile, down in Punjab, the focus is entirely zeroed in on public safety and logistics. Chief Minister Maryam Nawaz has ordered enhanced security and very strict preparations for the upcoming Muharram processions. And because of this brutal heat wave we're having, the strategy includes deploying field hospitals, setting up cold water stations, sprinkling water right on the procession routes, and making absolutely sure no open manholes are left unsecured. It's a massive, highly coordinated effort to keep people safe.
In other legal and political news, the PTI founder, who is currently at Adiala jail, was taken to a clinic to receive his 5th injection for an ongoing eye condition. After the visit, PTI chairman Barrister Gohar confirmed the treatment, but he actively reiterated the party's demand that the founder be permanently transferred to Shifa International Hospital for comprehensive care and that his family be granted full access.
Okay, let's execute a hard pivot for Section 4, the playing field, PCB contract reforms. The Pakistan Cricket Board is basically shaking up everything we know about how the national team operates.
PCB Chairman Mohsen Naqvi just dropped an absolute ultimatum. He stated, domestic cricket is mandatory for every player. Those who don't play will face consequences. This fundamentally changes the game. There are no more free passes based on past glory. If you want the privilege of playing for the national team, proving yourself in domestic cricket is now a completely non-negotiable requirement.
To actually enforce this new mindset, they've rolled out a highly structured, tiered contract system. As you can see, it separates specialists by format. Track A is strictly for red ball and test specialists. Management knows Pakistan has really lagged behind in test cricket, so they are directly incentivizing a return to form there. Tracks B and C cover ODI and T20 players, with C specifically for T20 only. And Track D, that's dedicated entirely to emerging academy players. Everyone now has a clearly defined role and an expected pathway.
But here's the real kicker, how these contracts are actually awarded. Look at this. A massive 85% of a player's central contract status is now strictly performance-based. Only 15% is left up to the selection committee's discretion. This is huge. It's designed to strip away subjective bias and just reward pure, undeniable on-field results. Basically, if you perform, you get paid. If you don't, you're dropped down the tiers.
And get this, if that wasn't enough accountability, the PCB is pushing for total transparency. They announced that player fitness tests aren't going to be hidden behind closed doors anymore. They will literally be conducted out in the open right in front of the media. There is truly nowhere to hide under this new system. Fans are going to see exactly who is putting in the physical work.
Finally, Section 5, Quick Global Sports Updates. Before we wrap up this explainer, let's take a really fast look at today's major international football fixtures. We've got some massive FIFA World Cup matchups happening today with a truly global lineup. We're talking Spain taking on Cape Verde, Belgium facing off against Egypt, Saudi Arabia going head-to-head with Uruguay, and Iran playing New Zealand. It's just a fantastic day for football fans everywhere to watch all these different styles clash on the pitch.
And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. So, as we look at this historic, fragile 60-day window for a U.S.-Iran peace deal, alongside these sweeping domestic political shifts and a complete accountability-driven overhaul of Pakistan's cricket infrastructure, we have to ask, how will these massive decisions made today reshape the region's future, both on the global stage and the playing field tomorrow? Keep that question in the back of your mind as these stories continue to unfold. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.